Good morning and welcome to Hump Day. Happy Wednesday. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, man, what a not even 24 hours, last 18, maybe even 16 hours ago. Late yesterday, gold, it was closed, but it was open in electronic trade. So New York had closed. Wall Street was up 300 points. And then the president tweeted out, we are not going to have a deal and we won't do any stimulus until after the election. The Dow lost its mind and went from up 300 to down 300 in a matter of minutes. Gold got hit hard in the aftermarket, right? Very, very thin trading. And then late last night, the president kind of said, well, if you want to give me a bailout for the airlines, I'll sign it. If you want to send everybody $1,200 again, I'll sign it. Right now, this morning, maybe the airlines are going to get another $25 billion. So just keep the tally. So the airline industry, we're going to be over $50 billion if that happens. If it doesn't, like I said, the layoffs. And again, how long? Because they'll be back. I mean, they'll be back in January or February. They'll need more again. I don't know the answer to it, but doesn't look like anything else, but we'll see. So be careful, I guess, as the president tweets. So we've got a situation where I'll tell you gold's either down 20 or up 10. We'll figure it all out. We'll find out where all the bodies lie. Silver actually is held up pretty well. Silver's only down about 10 cents right now. So a lot going on. We got a really good show today. Where's gold going to be? Where's it going to be? And this is going to be short term. And I don't like to talk a lot about short term. But I'm not going to be the one telling you. E.B. Tucker, he is probably one of the leading experts. He's on Kitco weekly. All the time, very good chartist, strategist. He's making calls for both gold and silver that you're not going to want to miss. And it doesn't matter who, and he's very similar to me as far as it doesn't matter whether it's Trump or Biden. Biden will be better, I guess, for gold, my opinion. Biden will be better for gold. And let me say it this way. Will be better for people. My customers, my clients will buy a lot more gold if Biden's president. I think the price of gold will do close to the same. I think gold goes a little higher with Biden, but close to the same whether it's Trump or Biden. And then he's going to talk to you about interest rates. You know, we live in this fantasy land world where the central bank is God Almighty. Right? And, we got a chart with dots on it. It says, you know what? We're not going to raise rates until 2024. Listen, I got news for you. Rates can't go up. Well, let me rephrase that. The central bank will never raise rates. Now, they may go up, but it won't be because they're raising rates. And E.B. Tucker is going to lay it all out for you. So stay tuned. That's going to be coming up in the next segment. Metals plans. I want to get to this. The post office. These people have lost their minds. We split the shipments. I mean, I don't think any of the girls went to the post office with more than a baker's dozen. You know, somewhere. You know, each one of them. And I had Sarah in here, we had Brooke in here, we had Arlene in here. Each one of them took, 12, 13 packages to the post office. Different post office, mind you. All of them have told us that from here on out, we're only allowed to bring 8 packages. Yes, they put in 8. And they said they've made a rule change, right? We can bring more, but we have to come early in the day. And we're like, well, this is when we're boxing them, is early in the day. But again, I didn't get any official rule change notification, but nonetheless, we will comply. We have the vast majority of metals plants are done. I think we're pretty close to anybody under what? Or I'm looking at Arlene to help me here. What, about $900, $1,000 a month? If you're under that amount, you probably are done and already in the mail or going to be in the mail today. The people at the higher end, you guys were going to start your stuff before the end of the week. So we're going to probably have to go into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Not because anything else but the post office now. We just don't have that many people. Jason has graciously offered his mother's services. So we'll get them out there. So they're in progress, but this is what happens. You know, a great example of a government-run business, isn't it? They're losing billions and billions and billions of dollars a quarter, and now they're saying, hey, you're bringing in too much stuff. Yes. Incredible. But that just tells you, dude, this metals plant, it's massive. By the way, congratulations. All great stuff in there. Patriot Radio News Hour. E.B. Tucker's coming up next. 800-951-0592. Don't forget James Morgan coming up at noon today. Denver, if not the hottest, one of the hottest housing markets in the country. Phoenix, very similar. So James Morgan's going to tell you how he thinks all of that's going to play out. You're not going to want to miss that. Feeling very, very bubblicious when it comes to certain demographics for housing. Like I said, depends where you live, right? If you're in New York, if you're in Las Vegas, if you're in San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, Chicago, right? It's a different story. But nonetheless, we'll have that. So make sure you tune in for that. By the way, Wells Fargo is announcing layoffs as well. This just tells you, it was Goldman Sachs last week, Wells Fargo this week. A lot less banking going on, and we've got a bunch of things about that. I got some local Arizona news, the lack of tourism and what it means for tax revenues in the state of Arizona. Everyone get ready. We haven't talked a lot about what's going to happen in city and state governments with budget deficits and layoffs and whatnot. But I got to get to E.B. Tucker. I think of all the analysts in gold, he's the best one. And we have them up on our website as well. So if you want to listen to it again, or where can I find the video you played, go to allamericangold.com. It's out there. But it's good every once in a while to hear a different voice because, hey, I sell gold. So, Joe's just saying that to get you to buy gold. No, I would never do that. I tell you what I feel and what I think, and that's it. But Jason, or maybe Jack, and maybe Bernice, I'm not sure. Whoever's running the board, let's play E.B. Tucker.
My guest today had correctly called $1,900 gold and above. So where does he see the metal now? Where does he see Bitcoin? Where does he see silver? Where does he see the future? He is the author of his new book, Why Gold? Why Now? E.B. Tucker, welcome to my new show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for joining me. The last time we spoke, I was at my former network, and that's where you called $1,900 gold. You feeling good with that call?
Well, we already beat that. So let's go back in time because you and I have done this for years now. It's kind of as much fun as guessing someone's weight at the state fair. We did 1,500 right, and we hit that. We did 1,900 and we hit that. Now, I don't want to shock you, but 2,500 by the end of the year. I don't know if we'll stay above that, but I think we'll hit that. And we feel really confident. Everyone has been asking the last few weeks, the chart is right here behind me. But look, anybody that read my book sees that this is coming in dominoes. So you're going to have numerous dominoes have to fall. And we're only about 3 innings into the baseball game. I mean, there's 6 innings left to go. You got to know what's coming next. There's a lot that's coming next. The election is so bullish for gold. It doesn't matter what happens. A Trump victory for second term is bullish for gold in different ways. And a Biden victory is bullish for gold in other ways. You've got the U.S. Treasury just can't borrow enough money. I mean, they've never seen a dollar they didn't want to borrow, and we can get into all that, but everything is set up. And I know the call is shocking from here, but let's see what happens.
Hold on. So I think it actually pales in comparison to a lot of the calls I've been hearing from people, which is $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 gold. What might be shocking is by year end.
Yeah. That's right. So we see the setup now. I mean, there's a lot of charting that goes into this. There's a lot of setup in the market. The entire gold market, every ounce of gold ever mined in human history, is only worth $12 trillion. And so this year, you've seen $3 to $4 trillion in stimulus go out the door. Last night there was a call from the House for 2.2 trillion more. I mean, you're almost had a deficit in the U.S. of half the value of all the gold on the whole planet. So look, and a lot of things have happened. I mean, Buffett coming into gold, I wrote in my book about Buffett's negative statements about gold, but why is he coming into gold? Because there's no return on cash. There's no return on bonds. The stock market is not appealing to anyone that's sensible. And you look at gold and you've just crossed off all the reasons you used to hate gold. I think other people are going to come to this conclusion, but let's make sure we focus on something. Gold is not an investment. It's an asset. So it's kind of a safe harbor. It's a place to park your boat while the storm comes through town, okay? There's ways to make money. So we're talking about wealth preservation on one side, and let's talk about how to profit on another, because these are two very different things.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, there's a lot of good, I don't want to use the word nuggets, but nuggets in what you just said. But I've recently just had Michael Saylor on the show, and he moved his company's cash into crypto. I actually have Raoul Pal coming on. He's also moving, a huge position, 50% of his assets in Bitcoin. And when I asked them, well, why not gold? Their argument is, well, you could keep mining gold. You could pay enough money for someone to find that gold, but you can't do that with Bitcoin.
Maybe, but you can have Pierre Lassonde on your show. I'm sure he'll come on if you ask him, and he'll tell you that they haven't found a 50 million ounce deposit in a shockingly long time.
That's my answer to them. Yeah. But I guess
let's get into that for a minute, because I talk about crypto in my book, and I think I do it in a very fair way, because there's a place where crypto's headed, and it's a place people haven't considered. And I wrote this in newsletters for a long time. I don't think people really fully caught on. So I devoted a big chunk of the book to it, because I don't think it ends well for crypto, and I think people need to really consider what I'm proposing there. But let's look at gold. Gold, you can melt it down. You can't trace it. You can turn it into belt buckles, teeth, jewelry, back into coins, back into bars, and you never know where it comes from. Crypto has ultimately got to go onto a network to be traded. Sure, you can store it cold in a safe on a thumb drive. Sure, you could trade it with someone off market. But as we saw with the kids that blackmailed Twitter accounts earlier this year that got crypto, they tracked that crypto down and found those. Okay, so my point is, do you want something that's out of the system? If you want something that's out of the system, pure unadulterated gold is the only asset in the world that has no counterparty. Bitcoin still relies on that network to be traded.
All right, E.B. Tucker, getting back to price predictions here. If you put gold at 2,500 by year end, where is silver?
$40. That's a strong call. I know it rattles some people a little bit. $40 for silver. I personally have that trade on in a major way. I know several others that do too. We see $40 silver. It's going to surprise people. Only 25% of silver comes from primary mining. That means it depends on other metals to be mined. A lot of those supplies aren't looking so good. And silver's been in a long bear market, and it's going to surprise people.
This is a fantastic read that you've put together, EB. I'm on my second time reading it again. It's good for people new to gold or who've been in this market for a long time. I want to focus on one of the chapters where you talk, the Fed can't raise interest rates ever again. Why?
That's right. They can't do it. They absolutely can't do it. People need to understand this is a debt-based system. So we turned a corner years back. We started inflating the system like this. If you shrink, everything rattles, it falls apart. Companies can't refinance their bonds. People can't refinance their mortgages. Houses go down in value. Everything crumbles. Pension funds, you name it, top to bottom, everybody has a hard time. The system's got to grow. The question is, can they control the rate of inflation? That's the deal. If you look now, they're trying to get this 2% inflation target. They're going to have trouble getting it. Ultimately, they'll probably overshoot, but they'll do anything they can to get 2%. Why 2%? Because if you keep inflating, then it's easier to refinance the debt, because over time you have growth. But remember something, that's nominal growth. So you have nominal growth and real growth. We don't have to get into it, but my point is the U.S. is shrinking on a real basis and growing on a nominal basis. You've got to preserve your wealth. The book's subtitle, The War Against Your Wealth and How to Win It. That's the whole thing. I mean, it's right here below the thing. The War Against Your Wealth and How to Win It. This is a war against your wealth. And this is a situation where that's what we're talking about, is we're talking about how to preserve your wealth. And if you have even $1,000, that's wealth.
EB, I had Jim Rogers on who said, we don't have to fear 2020 when it comes to markets, because politicians, the Fed will do whatever to keep this market alive and going ahead of the election. What we do need to fear is 2021. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I mean, what's the plan after this? I mean, everything is we're patching holes in a situation that's taking on water. I mean, we've got external threats, we've got internal threats. People are out of work. Global tourism is over 10% of GDP. It's zero revenue. I mean, look, ask people, you know, in Italy, there's hotels empty, closing down. I mean, look, I think that tourism right now reminds me of what I read about in finance school as wheat farmers in the 30s. I mean, in the 30s, it was the crash in the farming industry that really broke the system, because all these people were unemployed. And that was the wave that took the country into Great Depression. But these days, it's tourism. It's over 10% of the economy. And right now, there's not a hotel that's full. I stayed in a hotel in Sarasota recently, 6% occupancy. How are you going to run a hotel with 6% occupancy? Impossible.
So on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of ugliness here, how bad can this economy get? And how afraid are you, EB?
I'm not afraid of anything, and I mean that, well, I'm afraid of the dentist, but outside of that, I'm not afraid of anything. So what's going to happen here is they're going to continually plug and plug and plug and throw anything they can at this system to keep it going. So the fact is, if you totally pull out of all the markets, you could be in for a bad surprise. This is not a scenario where everything goes flat like a pancake. This is a scenario where you've got to protect some of your wealth. That's what Buffett did. You didn't see him go 130 billion into gold miners. You know, he went 500 million. And the fact is, you look at these companies, they're making tons of profit. They're increasing dividends. They have huge margins, and nobody has looked at them for years. And I had breakfast this morning with a guy from Fisher Investments. This guy was like, we don't even know who to call about gold. I mean, and it's not their fault. The reality is that nobody has even looked at this business in a long time. You've got Snowflake trading at 70 times revenue. Gold companies, you can't even sell these things. But believe me, when the dividends keep coming and the share prices keep going up, they're going to attract a lot of attention. But let's cover one more thing. How do you make money? Because, I mean, remember, you buy gold for $1,880 and you ride it to $2,500. It's okay. But the way you make money is the royalty business. And that's what we've done with Metalla. You know, we started at $1.20. We're at $12 now. It's been a great ride. You know, it continues to go on. The company is doing what it's done since day one.
Well, and just to go back to that point, maybe I shouldn't have used the word afraid, but I was speaking with one investor who had seen our last interview together, and he said, wow, you know, I'm really afraid because I had seen EB so rattled, and I don't think I've ever seen him so rattled. So that's why I asked you.
Remember, that was March. That was March when we were in a scenario.
So I asked you, are you more worried today than, let's say, a year ago?
Well, what's surprising is how fast this all happened. I mean, you used to take, years to go through these market cycles, but now it takes weeks. I mean, in March, you saw a third of the stock market's value vanish in a couple of weeks, and then instantly they pump everything possible into it, and then you shoot back to new highs. I mean, you can't trade that. I mean, come on, there's too much volatility. You don't want to own that.
EB, with the minute we have left here, in your book, you speak about your grandfather being a great mentor to you when it comes to investing. Advice for our viewers watching that you'd like to share? Yeah,
I mean, buy your grandkid a copy of my book. I mean, it's written so that any person can understand it.
This is for my kids.
This is my journey in finance. I mean, I wrote newsletters. I've managed money. I'm on the board of Metalla Royalty. I'm on the companies going public soon. Nova Royalty I'm very involved with. It's nickel and copper royalties. I mean, these types of things, I'm writing about them so that people understand not just what I've done, but how I've done it. So in the book, as you know, I tell you exactly how I came to all these conclusions. And if you read the book and follow me along, you don't need me anymore, because at the end of it, you know how to think. And that's what my grandfather taught me, was how to think. And it's the most valuable gift you can give to someone that's growing up today, because the world they're entering is different from the world that we lived in.
How to think. That's what, you know, and I couldn't have said it better. And I wanted everybody to hear that, because that's what we do here. We just want you to think. You can draw your own conclusions, but think about what's really happened out here. And of course, E.B. Tucker, all kinds of great examples, and reinflating bubbles, and his call was, I mean, pretty clear. $2,500 before the end of the year in gold, $40 in silver. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, and I've been saying all the way, I think we're going to hit 23. E.B. Tucker says that you're under it again. Patriot Radio News Hour. When we get back, we're going to talk more about some of the things he said and what that has to do with gold. 800-951-0592. You know what I'm going to tell you, right? Buy the dips. Buy the dips. And we got to, not the first time, but it's been a while since we've had a sell-off off the tweeting of the president. That's what happened yesterday. And again, these are why you like these dips. These are the good ones, because it really isn't based on anything other than a tweet from the president, who we all know likes to do things just for effect. Pelosi and Mnuchin are talking again. Everybody's saying, and I don't know, who knows what they're talking about? I can't imagine. Maybe the airline industry, if they let the 32,000 people they laid off back on their payrolls, I'll give them some more money. I guess what's the difference? Whether the government pays them, the airline pays them, right? Either way, they're going to, you know, I guess if they go through the unemployment number, then they're going to get less. That's what I guess the big thing is there. So, again, makes no sense to me. But let's get back to E.B. Tucker. Nominal and real returns. You know, he talked about Warren Buffett, the ultimate hater of gold. Had to change his mind, right? Had to change his mind. Think about where we're at right now. You know, and Warren Buffett for decades. Go back to every bust cycle, at least in my adult life. You know, and I'm 50. It's Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett bought this during the dot-com crash, the crash of '87. Warren Buffett bought that, and then the dot-com, he bought this. The housing bubble crash, he bought that. The banking crisis, he bought these. Notice this time around, and of course, E.B. Tucker was saying how quick it was, and who really wants to trade any of this nonsense. It's the Warren thing, you know, and I haven't seen it. Warren Buffett's been very, very, very quiet. And he's bought a few things, but not very many. But the one thing he did buy, he bought a gold miner. And and again, think about Warren Buffett for 80 years. He's been telling everybody how horrible gold is, but I think E.B. Tucker laid it out. Listen, nominally, they say you have growth. It's like the 10-year note. It pays you 60 or 70 basis points. But when you put inflation into it, and even use the Fed's inflation number, fine. We'll use that baloney, which was 1.6%. Well, that means you're losing 1% every year. Who would make that investment? Right? Who leaves money in the bank? It doesn't pay you anymore. And it's not going to for a very long time. Right? The central bank wants to well overshoot inflation, which means, guess what? nominally it appears that you're getting something, but really you're losing, and they want us to lose even more. And E.B. Tucker, he raised up a great point. Listen, if interest rates go up, all the refinances stop. Stop. I mean, we're going to have James Morgan on at noon. We'll talk about the Denver housing market. Just think about what would happen to housing if interest rates started to rise. What do you think would happen to all these people that in certain markets like Phoenix and Denver, you're paying all-time record high prices? Right? And this is what E.B. Tucker is saying, hey, listen, this is where gold's going. This is why the run is coming, and it's early in the run. I'll give you another example. That one may be too complicated for some people. Well, I don't know. I don't buy bonds. How about Social Security? You know, the one that's going bankrupt real fast. I know that's not what they tell you on TV, but believe me, it is. You get a cost of living adjustment every year. Now, some years, and only really in the last 15 years have you ever gotten zero. Only in the last 15 years have you ever gotten a number like below 3%. Now you hardly get anything any year. This year, it's not official yet, but it looks like 1.3%. That's your cost of living adjustment. What does that mean for the average person on Social Security? It works out to about $19 a month. That's how much more you're going to get. That's 63 cents a day. I remember, I think it was Sally Struthers, back when I was a kid. This is how good of a commercial it was. Back when I was a kid, you know, and the starving children in Africa, and for the cost of a cup of coffee a day. Right? And I think the whole thing was like you pledged like $20 a month, right? So it's $19. So Arlene, she's got a Starbucks problem. And I shouldn't call it a problem. But she likes her Starbucks. And she has this one drink. She gets it all the time. She gets a medium, which is a venti, is what she told me. Grande, not a venti. The venti's that's more expensive. Sorry, if you buy what Arlene buys at a Starbucks, it's $6.30. That's what it cost her for one. Every 10 days, you can buy one of Arlene's Starbucks with the cost of living adjustment that you're going to receive in your Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security package. So congratulations. And this is what E.B. Tucker is talking about. Hey, nominally, you got an extra $19. The reality is you actually got an extra $19, but yet somehow you are more poor than you were before. Because the cost of everything else got more expensive by a lot more than $19. Matter of fact, you got to buy food. Food alone is going to eat up that whole $19. Plus, forget about a Starbucks. This is what they're talking about. Nominally, it appears like, oh, well, we got a little bit of growth. We pay a little bit of interest. But in real terms, you actually get less. And remember, for decades, the only reason why you didn't own gold is it didn't pay interest. Now the reason why you own gold is because the interest they're paying isn't worth what the real rates are. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Just think, you get it. You understand. Be smart for once. I know we and I'm this way too. I'm an emotional guy, and a lot of it I buy on emotion. But this is a much harder time. You got to be really, really smart. Think things through. Go back to the $19. I guess I should have read the whole article. By the time you pay your medical Part B premiums, the $19, well, you lose half of that because that's how much the Part B premium is going to go up. So now all of a sudden, okay, now I got, $9. Oh, wait, the drug companies have raised drug prices 800 times this year. Well, 800. I think it's more like over 2,000 different drugs. But the key, there's 42 drugs that the majority of seniors are on at least one of them. There's 42. You take those 42 drugs, that you're going to get something like 85% of seniors are on at least one of these 42 drugs. That's going to cost you 3.3% more already. And by the way, they say it's going to go up again next year. That was just what happened this year. More bad news. Your premium, your deductible. That extra, $9 and change that you had left after the Part B premium, they took that too. That went to the increase in the deductible. So congratulations. You actually got nothing. And the drug prices are up. And your food prices are up. And, right, this is what E.B. Tucker was talking about. Why Warren Buffett went into gold. See, it used to be the other way around. Hey, the interest, the real return was still greater. You go back and you look at cost of living adjustments. Go back to the 80s. Go back to the 90s. A bad year was 5%. That was a bad year. Of course, remember, Alan Greenspan, Mr. Maestro himself, they just changed the calculations in the 90s. And then you'll notice, you go right to 2000 and all of a sudden, boom, nothing. Right? Because, and really what happened, right, we've had this explosion of debt. I mean, in 2000, the debt was $5 trillion. Right? 20 years later, we're at $27 trillion. And let's count the $8 trillion on the Fed's balance sheet. So that's the $35 trillion. We've gone up $30 trillion in 20 years, and with no end in sight. So now we're stuck, permanently stuck until they change the money in a cycle where nominal. You may get, we're fortunate right now. We still have some nominal gain. Some. But the real returns are not there. And then you're left either you got to go play the Wall Street casino, right? Which, hey, we know there's a handful of stocks that have kicked major backside. All the rest of them are on borrowed time. But when you look at your wealth and wealth preservation, never, ever, ever has there been a better case for gold ownership than right now. And that's what E.B. Tucker's talking about. He's like, listen, we got all the charts. They're all bullish. Even with this pullback, they're all bullish. But everybody, the big, rich guys are all looking at the same thing. And it's global. That's the other part. And then, remember the mind side of it. Let's not forget. Talking about, hey, the last time there was a 50 million ounce deposit for gold, I can tell you, it was the 80s. Right? Forget about 50 million. How about a 30 million? None. Zero. Nada. 10 million? They're not there. All the gold ever mined in the world's only worth $12 trillion. Think about this. The Fed's balance sheet is going to rise about $4 trillion this year, maybe 5. Our deficit going to be $4 trillion, maybe 5. Right? You add, some form of stimulus, throw that on. I mean, we'll have handled that in a year. So just to get to the debt, let's just call the spade a spade. I just showed you 35 trillion just between the central bank and the government. That means gold has got to triple just to equal the value of the debt. And that's all the gold ever mined in the world. The problem is the debt is rising by 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 trillion a year. So when you're sitting there thinking about what do, you know what to do. You know I'm right. Don't take my word for it. E.B. Tucker, all the rest of them, and it's so funny. Most of these guys that sell you your annuities and your IRAs and all these things with all their great gimmicks, it's so funny. You used to hear the commercials all the time. A guaranteed 10% return, right? Now the guarantees, they're down to 4% and 5% and falling and falling and falling. Yeah, pretty soon they're not going to guarantee you anything except you losing all of your money. 800-951-0592. When we get back, I've got a gold item for you, and I'm going to talk tourism in Arizona. 800-951-0592 real quick. Gold's either up 10 at 1887 or down 15. Just depends on where you look. All had to do with that Trump tweet in the aftermarkets. Silver up 67 cents or down 8 cents, depending on where you look. Just under $24 to the ounce. U.S. I'm going to give you an option today. You pick it, because you should be buying gold. You know it. U.S. $20 gold pieces at $20.95, or U.S. $10 pieces at $1,050. So 2 10s would be $2,100, or a 20 at $2,095. You get to call it today, 800-951-0592. Now I'm going to do something for you in Arizona. The tourism industry came out with their monthly report. This was an August number. They said that travel spending fell 59% into Arizona, losing more than $1 billion in the month of August. They said that year to date in August there was 113,000 fewer jobs in the Arizona tourism industry than there was last August. So just one industry here in Arizona down 113,000. Year to date, revenue from tourism in Arizona is down 51%. Here's the problem. If you took out January and February, if you went from March, that number grows to over 60% down. Here just in Arizona, just to kind of give you an idea. And remember what E.B. Tucker was talking about. You can't make this up. You can't inflate out of that. There's millions and millions of people that are going to be out of work, and they're going to be out of work for a long, long time. I don't know. They're just going to keep trying to plug the holes. Maybe a slight real rate of return, or nominal rate of return, but all real rates of return for the vast majority of Americans are now negative. It's kind of like negative rates, and that's the best time to be buying gold. 800-951-0592. Just a heads up, tomorrow, the government has a bunch of reports. You know the one that we get because we got jobless claims tomorrow, and every month In the government's jobs report, they give you an unemployment number, and last one was only 7.9, and they said there's only 11 million people unemployed. Well, tomorrow I'm going to give you the government's other number. See, they know. They know how many people have been unemployed, but we broke a record. As long as they've been keeping the data, the amount of people collecting unemployment benefits for 6 months or longer. We've broken the all-time record here in the United States. And just to give you a little bit of a heads up, it's actually more people than the government said in their unemployment report last week. Yep. So we got more. Think about this. We got more people that have been unemployed for 6 months or longer than the government were unemployed at all. We'll do that tomorrow. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Everybody take care. God bless. We'll be back tomorrow.